Are you thinking about trying to conceive? Or have you been on this road for a while and just feel like the magic isn't happening for you? Many women turn to the Western model for answers because their fertility challenges are huge, monumental, life altering tensions that do not bear fruit. Where we go looking for these answers isn't working because you are an intricate mosaic of energetic, physical, and emotional facets that make up all of you, a fact that is being lost in our current model. I am so excited to have womb healer and Reiki master Carolina Sotomayor on the show. Carolina's unique approach to supporting the energetic and emotional sides of the conception journey is a conversation you won't want to miss. Let's shift the narrative around our fertility. Shift the narrative around our fertility. Let's examine the multidimensional reasons you may be up against fertility challenges and what you can do about them. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women live their best to put you in the driver's seat of your menstrual health, offering period solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. The podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are. I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am super excited about today's interview. This has been a long time in coming, and I have the incredible Carolina Sotomayor on this show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. We're besties. Since the first time we talked, I have decided that we're best friends.
I feel that we were just like, oh, there's so much good stuff here. Like,
Oh my gosh, like a sister from another life.
Absolutely. And we'll probably end up doing another episode too, just because she is a wealth of information. But I wanted to have Carolina on the show today because she has an incredible system approach, spiritual deepening, and energy work around fertility. And fertility is an area that is near and dear to my heart. It's the focal point of my practice. Carolina, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Hi, thanks again for having me. I live in Nebraska. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I'm a dog mom on top of that. So I am a Reiki master, and I'm mostly well known for being a womb healer or a fertility womb healer. I have multiple life events, and I help women conceive using Reiki. I help women know that the more that we can heal up front, the easier fertility, pregnancy, birth, and postpartum will be. And that's like the soapbox I'll die on. So the approach that I have with fertility is that there's emotional blockages in our womb that we need to heal. So the approach is that if emotions are not handled as they come up and they're not released properly, they get stored in our tissues. What then happens is our tissues can manifest ailments, diseases, pain. So for example, if our emotional center is located in our pelvis, and with that, if our emotions are not taken care of, meaning cleared, released, or healed, or even just, I like to say, neutralize our hormones, our relationships, how our emotional safety, how we feel our emotions, if we feel emotions at all, how we share them. So emotional security, essentially, that also affects pleasure, creativity, what we create in the world, because all of that comes from one place, and that's called our sacral plexus chakra. That comes from one place, and that's called our sacral plexus chakra. That's our womb. That's where our uterus and reproductive organs are. So I focus on using Reiki, which I'm the only one that I know of in the world that does this because I learned, I searched, is I apply Reiki to the entire body holistically. Is I apply Reiki to the entire body holistically to all layers of the aura, but particularly to the womb, so we can release those emotions so that we can optimize her fertility. I can see if a woman's womb is open or closed, and you definitely need to have your womb if you're going to conceive. So if you're going in for IUI or IVF, you need to make sure that your womb is open. And it can be closed for multiple reasons. Emotional trauma, lack of emotional safety in a relationship. If a person threatened you and made you feel a certain way, that can shut down your sacral chakra. Grief times 3. My dad had died. 3 days later, his dad had died. So my abuela died 3 days later after my dad died. And then 1 year to the week, my horse died. So when I was trying to conceive, I was a newlywed. And I had, when my dad died, I had, when my dad died, I couldn't understand death. I couldn't understand how a person at that point, my dad was my person because he was the only person that had never physically hurt me. And they said, how does a person go from existing and or if you like really look at it, like now he's just in an urn. So with that, I wanted to seek out how do I have a relationship with my dad now on the other side? Because I just didn't believe that the essence of a person of who you are, the things you argue about, where we were Latin, my dad's ecker. How
Yeah.
does that cease to exist because your body stopped working and now you're dead? But what about your soul? And this goes beyond, is there heaven or hell? This is like, why does your relationship have to end when they die? But why? And that's essentially was the question that I was, but why? And that's essentially was the question that I was looking to answer. And I was not satisfied that it just, nobody could tell me, but I'm also the deeper feeler. I'm the deeper thinker. And it was because of his death that I started my spiritual awakening. I started to take every workshop I could with a local psychic, learn about spirit guides. I learned about ghosts and I learned about souls that cross over and psychopomps, people who help souls cross over. And I learned about mediumship. I learned that I wanted to be a medium. And I learned from the psychic medium that I could be one, that everyone has these abilities. It's a matter of how open are you to developing a library of symbols? How open are you to protecting your energy, learning who you're communicating with? So that was 2014. I started all of that. And fast forward, I learned how to do oracle cards. I learned how to do oracle cards. I used to use pendulums. Now I don't have to. I use my third eye, which is where is between your brow. It's basically your intuition and your instincts. So fast forward 2014, my dad dies. I go on this epic deep dive view kind of thing to, okay, so now I'm starting to get glimpses into what he feels like, what forms is he like. And mind you, I only wanted to communicate with him. I didn't want to communicate like at that point with anyone else. I didn't really care. I just wanted to be a medium so I could continue my relationship with my dad. I didn't know how to exist in a world where the person I felt safest with wasn't existing anymore. I questioned what was true and what was not. So I get married in December of 2014 and I'm a newlywed and I have low libido because my grief is super strong. And I went on and we navigated life. And when we were trying to conceive, we couldn't. And everything was normal. Everything was testing out normal. The doctors, there's something wrong. My grief therapist at the time said, you should probably be progressing more than you are right now. You should probably either get on a medication or you should try Reiki. That same week, I went to a psychic shop. This is a caveat, is that I had fallen off my horse accident and I had fallen in a ditch. And I was put on medical leave. If you ever heard of that term Godsmacked, if you don't pay attention to the times that the universe and God says, you should probably take a break. You should pause. You
Yes.
should do this for yourself. So if you don't do and mention those signs, and they're usually in patterns, they're given plenty of chances. So at this point, I was not slowing down. I was self-sabotaging all the time, meaning not eating well, not eating at all, spending all the time with the second horse, had negative pregnancy tests. My husband and I were fine, but I had negative pregnancy tests. My husband and I were fine, but I was just lost. I was a hurricane on wheels and completely lost. So I went on medical leave because my memory was not returning after the horse accident. I couldn't say numbers in reverse. I couldn't drive. I couldn't be. So my husband took me to the psychic store. I was like, "Do you have any crystals for concussion?" And they're like, "No." And she happened to be in the lobby that day. And she's, "You need, your chakras are blocked. Your throat and your sacral plexus are blocked. You need to get Reiki. You don't need any rocks for concussion." So it's two people in 1 week that recommended Reiki. I went and got Reiki. I was still very medical at the time. So I went to the Reiki practitioner, Reiki master that the therapist had recommended, and I got a Reiki massage. And the next month, I was testing positive for Ollie, and now he's 6. So
Wow.
that's how I conceived with Reiki, and that's what started my Reiki journey, is that through my grief, starting my spiritual awakening, and then fast forward 2 years because I conceived Ollie in 2016, I was it was mess. It was a mess. It was a lot of times 3. So it is really important that on your fertility journey, let it unfold. You may conceive in ways that you may not have considered before. Everyone goes into fertility, I'm going to have sex and I'll get pregnant, because you spend most of your time, most of your life not trying not to get pregnant. And then most of your life not trying not to get pregnant. And then when you're
Right.
ready to get pregnant, a lot of the women I work with are like, "But just not working out that way. I'm having sex and I'm not getting pregnant." So
Yep.
for whatever reason. And for me, what I've developed I got certified in Reiki in 2017. With every certification that I've got with Reiki, my mediumship and my abilities have increased. What I can do now is I can see, usually, if I'm super connected to a person, I can connect with their spirit babies. I can see how
Wow.
many pregnancies they're gonna have, can usually get some type of detail from the spirit baby, and this is if the spirit baby shows up. There are some times that the spirit babies don't show up. I am what you call an evidential medium, not a psychic. So a psychic can really just predict the future. A medium channels. They're connecting and they're speaking with the soul on the other side. So stand more of the soul contract between mom and baby. Are they coming again? Is it next life? Or are they not coming again? What was their sole purpose for coming? What messages do they have about the womb?
Mhm.
That kind of thing. So for me, I'm able to also see inside the womb. Not I only have this ability for what my Reiki guides will give me. So I can see inside a woman's uterus or in their entire pelvis, and I literally can see the organ with my third eye, and then I can see where the stuck energy is. And what happens is when I channel, I'm connecting to their soul, I'm connecting to their spirit guides, my Reiki guides, the archangels, their spirit babies, any angel babies. So angel babies are ones that have been lost or been aborted, or any pregnancy lost babies. All of that's angel babies. Some people don't know the difference of the terms, and spirit babies have not been born. All of them. And then I'm able to get a full view.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm not able to know what, so I can see if it takes on different shapes, or it could be like a haze. Sometimes it looks like an armor, just depending on what it is. Sometimes like fear looks like tar to me. So when I'm seeing it, I hear fear looks like tar to me. So when I'm seeing it, I hear out of my right ear, and then like I can hear like the words, and then I can see visions like in front of me. So that's how I channel. Now, that's not connected to Reiki. That just is a gift that has gotten heightened with the higher vibration and attunement of Reiki. I have lots of Reiki students that can't channel, but they can see colors. I can't see auras for shit. But my
I can't either.
but my client Christina, she can see it. I also had a client named Emily who could tell what foods you needed to eat. I had a student who is like even a better me, but she can talk to, but she's like more of the traditional medium you think of as of like she can talk to anybody. So for me, it's so specific to the woman that's trying to conceive all the way through postpartum and motherhood. So I help women conceive using womb motherhood. So I help women conceive using womb healing that I apply from Reiki, and we clear out all of the things that are blocking your womb. And that looks like everything that you may have suffered as a child from age 0 to 7 and beyond could be sexual experiences, inner child. So a lot of this shadow work, which is the buzzword, or anything, I like to put it in even like more layman terms as if you're going to go to a therapist's office and you were to spill all of your skeleton, that's what we're healing inside the womb. It's the most intimate work that you can imagine. Relationships that and beliefs that you inherited from your parents. It's not about your capability or even trust with your body. That's a different chakra. But this is about how you feel your emotions, how you express them, how secure are you within yourself to to fully let yourself ride that emotional wave until it's done. Because you only feel an emotion for 90 seconds. Then you have to just keeping it, or am I releasing it? And most of the time we keep it because we're taught to stuff it. We're taught to be quiet.
Yeah.
A lot of children are, people are raised so many different ways and just assume that people are doing the very best they can with what they know. A lot of people are taught, a lot of people are taught whether it's through yelling or abuse or just repetitive pattern is out of sight, out of mind. You're better off like not being heard from. You're a good kid if you're quiet. So women especially learn to be people pleasers and quiet, or that we're not worthy of being heard. Especially learn to be people pleasers and quiet, or that we're not worthy of being heard, or a voice doesn't matter. A lot of that reigns true for so many women. When I worked in a chiropractor's office for years, it was how I knew I was a womb healer is that every single person, whether they're trying to conceive, and I saw every woman from postpartum, person whether they're trying to conceive, and I saw every woman from postpartum to menopause, they were trying to conceive, all of it. And it came down to the womb. Everything went back to the womb. How do they feel? Do they feel safe enough, even in their marriage or their partnership or relationship, to share how they feel, or even admit it? This is very jarring for many people. It was the right decision for me. And it took me a long time to publicly come like to terms with that for myself, and then for me to share it publicly. But I'm an open book and I'm 100% transparent. That fueled so many decisions that I made since then. And I think also understanding that your womb is a source of your soul. This is where your soul sits. Everything that you're going to bring into the world, whether it's a career, a business, anything that you're going to create comes from your womb. The creativity and worthiness to create or worthiness to experience pleasure, your orgasms come from your womb. If we're not feeling worthy of an orgasm or pleasure, then how worthy do you feel to feel joy in your life? Like, how worthy do you feel to laugh to your belly hurtiness? So this work is not just to help a woman conceive. It's so that they can live freely within their soul and embody that in their physical body, so that they can also know that no matter what life happens to them, they're going to be able to withstand it. They're going to know how to handle it because life's going to happen. The biggest misconception, stand it. They're going to know how to handle it because life's going to happen. The biggest misconception I see is, oh, I get spiritual. I'm going to light a candle and do some sage, some woo woo, and then nothing bad's ever going to happen to me. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life. No, are you kidding me? Your kid's going to get hurt, or it was this big deal in the school. And I was like, this is another example. As I'm in the middle of I'm launching my group program actively right now. I'm in the middle of it. It closes next week. And I'm like, of course, life is going to throw you challenges and make it messy. I was sick for 6 weeks prior. So, like, all these things are still going to happen. Reiki in my programs. So, I think that it's not enough to just unblock your womb. You need to know how you're going to regulate your emotions and cope with them as they come up in real life every day. So, how I do everything I do is with Reiki, and that's a form of energy healing. And what led me here, literally suffered in this world was not for nothing. It was a pattern. And I'm like, wait, why is everything in my life going back to the womb? And then why is everything I'm seeing in these women going back to the womb? So that's why I'm the womb healer. Literally, my shirt, one of my friends made me this shirt. It's so funny. I thought I'd wear it today for you. This shirt. It's so funny. I thought I'd wear it today for you.
Now you see why I wanted to have this amazing human being on this show. It's so true. Like, I had an episode that came out recently about emotions in the pelvis, and I was talking with a pelvic PT about
So important.
her work, and she has a very intuitive approach to her work as well. And while there's like physical releases and things that she does guided energy work as she works with people as well. And she talks about this armoring that you were just talking about.
And you don't understand. It's like you would see from Outlander or like maybe older, like the Crusaders, like it's like an armored metal shield on the front or back, sometimes both. It's really rare for me to see both. Usually I see it on one side. There's a chakra, like you have your front and back of your body. There's on one side. There's a chakra, like you have your front and back of your body. There's also a front and back to your chakra. So for me, I'm on TikTok is where I'm most active. So I do a lot of lives and I'll read people and do womb scan.
Oh, wow.
They sometimes the armor doesn't even let me get past. I can't even see past the front back. And if that's the case, there's a reason why that protective barrier is there, and you just
Mhm.
communicate it. I think it's really important as a provider, as a person with gifts, you're not responsible for everyone. Like as an ethical channeler, as an ethical medium, I can only deliver other side. Sometimes I don't know the answers and I just say, I don't know. All I'm saying is I can't get past it. And then I just reiterate, we are only giving the information and knowledge that we are supposed to have at this time. We're not supposed to have the kitchen sink, the house, and every piece of detail for the rest of our lives given to us at this moment. Besides, what would you do with all the information, piece of detail for the rest of our lives given to us at this moment? Besides, what would you do with all the information anyway? It would go to waste. You
Right.
wouldn't be able to, it would be like a circuit overload. So sometimes they're not ready to know what's inside. So what is revealed, and I trust that. Just like when you pull oracle cards, you ask one question. That just like when you pull oracle cards, you ask one question, you pull one card. You don't keep pulling the cards.
And you were talking about this energy in the womb space too. And, you know, emotions are energy and they will
They are
mastitize if not
100%.
addressed. So, like, I see this a lot with people who have fibroids. And as you laugh, I see this a lot with fibroids. And I've seen fibroids be a defensive mechanism that manifests itself because either the dynamic in the partnership isn't healthy or the woman doesn't feel safe. And sometimes I see it that way. And in the work that I do, it's an invitation. And as we do the work, it's almost like as their body builds the resilience, they then become in more of a position to look at the other aspects that are driving the energetic and emotional pieces that are at play in whatever their official Western diagnosis is that is quote unquote standing in the way of their goals, whether it's in their life or fertility or whatnot. But I just interesting that you worded it that way because in the work that I see, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show, because there's so much of a connection between these. We go into the doctor and we go, hey, like, why is it that I'm not able to conceive? And I was in that same boat as you were with that unexplained, like, his test results are fine. Your test results are fine. Your test results are fine. I have no idea why you can't get pregnant. And yeah, it's because it's beyond your diagnostic abilities.
It was so wild is that medium that helped me. I took every workshop she ever had, and some of them 2 or 3 times, and I went back ever had, and some of them 2 or 3 times, and I went back, and she told me, "You will get pregnant, but you need Reiki." And sure enough, when I came back, Ollie goes in that store still, and she knows exactly who he is, and they're so kind to him, and she's yep, that's one of my the more that you can have a relationship with healing, the more that you can become best friends with yourself and allow yourself to feel your emotions, the better your life will be. And healing for me, this is my favorite thing to hit home is healing's not a one-time event. On
Mhm.
my TikTok lives, I get a lot of women who say, "Just tell me when I'm gonna get pregnant. Just tell me if I'm pregnant right now. Tell me if I'm gonna have twins." I refuse to work with anyone that wants to have a quick fix. Not
Mhm.
worth my time. And it's because they're not in the right mindset. They're not ready to heal. If you want a quick fix, I'm not the practitioner. They're not ready to heal. If you want a quick fix, I'm not the practitioner for you. I'm ready to make permanent changes in your life, and I'm ready for you to have your baby. There are some women that I do one-on-one work with, and I'm like, "Done. We're done. Go have your baby." And usually during that time, we're discussing what their fertility medical plan is, what they're pulling in their soul. My favorite is a client. We went to the same university. She found me on TikTok. I didn't know who she was until she booked the appointment. And I'm Latina. A large majority of my following and the people I work with are Latin.
Mhm.
They're Hispanic. It's so funny. It was like, I live in Nebraska. She was from Miami, and she's just, I think, one of my favorite clients I've ever had, and we did a 90-minute session together, and I said, "You don't need me anymore. You're like" we counted, we did the messages, and she went on to do her IUI 2 weeks later, and now hers sometimes it's 1 session, and then I've worked with other women where I worked with one woman for over a year, but the issues weren't necessarily her own, they were her relationship.
Yeah. I
So
s
it was pivoting in her relationship and how could she be a better also, like, there was at one point I was like, "Okay, I've done as much as I can. Now you actually like, I've done as much healing as I can with you. If these issues still persist, I can't help you anymore. You need to actually go. This is like a marital issue that you have to go work out with him. Like, I can only help one person in that you have to go work out with him. Like, I can only help one person in that relationship. There has to be like accountability for the relationship part and understanding like what's the womb part. So there are clients that I work with in my membership. They come to the monthly circles and they get pregnant. Or in my group program, which is called Next Level Fertility, is an intense 90-day program where we are creating a custom healing plan for all of your triggers, all of your emotional root causes. And you're going to do a healing plan in that 90 days to get them all done. We're healing together and also with pre recorded modules. And then we're having group healing calls. And with that, learning how to do Reiki for themselves, they're getting attuned. And then with the last part is they're developing a fertility plan. What I noticed is a lot of women don't have a plan. So when I
Mhm.
ask women that are conceiving for 2, 4, 5, 10 years,
Yeah.
what's your plan? What? 10 years?
Yeah.
What's your plan? What? Okay, what's your thyroid? What's your period? What diagnoses do you have? Okay, what are we doing to actively treat those? Nothing. Nothing. And that's not just a little bit. That is like a huge chunk that I'm as a collective that I'm noticing since December. I'm like, okay, so this needs to be part of what questions are you asking to your doctor to formulate this plan? Because it's not going to come from me. I have a template and it's to teach them how to effectively talk to their medical provider because Reiki's not a cure. It's not a medical replacement. It can help you optimize your emotions and heal internally with emotions, but I'm not guaranteeing you a baby. And there is something to account for Western medicine and Eastern medicine together. Some people really might need IUI,
Mhm.
or I have a lot of same sex couples that I work with, sperm.
Yeah.
So we're going to need some sperm. Like, just having this template, knowing what question to ask, what follow-up question to ask,
Yeah.
And then also then knowing how to confirm it, or also knowing when to provide when you need another provider. I think it's very important to understand advocating for yourself. I think it's very important to understand advocating for yourself along with this is a key component to having success in fertility. And a lot of women get misdiagnosed or they never go back to the doctor. I did a lot of market research over Christmas break and I interviewed 12 women. 10 of those 12 women, their initial treatments for whatever, whether it's hormone or their husband needed to go back to his doctor because he had something wrong with his sperm. But like, why aren't we going back? And there's a lot of reasons why, but they're not ready for the treatment. But then there is this mindset of why am I still not getting pregnant? Your hormones are off. You don't have a period.
Right.
So if you do get pregnant, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to miscarry.
Right.
If your period's not regular, then if it's too thin or it's happening too fast, you
Yep.
could very well not have everything enough for them to implant on. Well, not have everything enough for them to implant on, or enough of the hormones for them to grow with and sustain a pregnancy.
Exactly.
So it's really so important. And if you don't have a period, it's important now to know why you don't have a period, not when you're just trying to conceive. There's a lot more to it. Have a period, not when you're just trying to conceive. There's a lot more to it. And a lot of women are just so depleted. They can't even
Mm.
think about all those things. But we have to start with understanding emotional safety and getting out of panic mode into a healing space. And we do that with Reiki, but it all comes in stages. And also holding someone accountable like myself. If you spend enough time with me, I will make you think that you are lovable, you're worthy of love, and you're worthy of carrying your baby because you are. Every woman deserves to have a baby, no matter their social economic status or what they have membership. There is something, and we do free healing circles. A lot of women can afford IVF. What is it? Starting at 20,000 and
Yeah.
you're not guaranteed a baby. You're not. And I had a client, she was single and she did a donated embryo. She was doing it by herself. And donated embryo. She was doing it by herself. And she did it 3 times and it didn't take. So, and she got really frustrated. I have nothing to show for this. And it's a really devastating feeling, but understand after every attempt, a womb clearing and blessing needs to be done. So we need to make sure even after like a fertility attempt, every medical assisted fertility attempt, including Clomid, has
Mhm.
a loss. And we need to resolve those emotions before we attempt to try to conceive again.
Yeah. And you get people who have like PTSD type triggers because they have
100%.
so
Fertility
many,
trauma.
yeah, they have so many negative tests that core womanhood identity. And when
Why am
those
I not
things,
conceiving? This is why I have a uterus. This is
exactly.
all my worth is wrapped up into, will I ever be able to tell my partner, "Oh, we're pregnant?"
And I see it all the time in my practice. And I created a program called Empowered Fertility to actually check some of this. It's like these pieces are so important. And sometimes it's not a hormone issue, sometimes it is. Sometimes medicated rounds are what people need, sometimes it isn't. In a lot of cases, I find that because we have this birth control pill mentality, in our culture, the definition of being quote unquote infertile is 6 months of trying with unprotected sex and no success. That's crazy because maybe you've been on birth control for 10 years and now you've come off of it and your doctor says one cycle, go ahead and try. You might not even start ovulating until you're at least 6 months out. There's a whole bunch of factors there that like people
Right?
just don't know. And then it creates these energetic blocks also because you've got all this physical stuff going on in the background. It's one of those things where like I are what you eat. And that saying is also what you consume and what you tell yourself in your head and
Facts.
all of those kinds of things. And I'm just so excited and I'm so grateful that you are here on the show
Oh my
today
gosh.
to talk
Thank
about
you.
all of this because this is so fundamentally important to talk
Thank
about
you.
all of this because this is so fundamentally important. Yes, okay. So we look at the sperm and the egg coming together and we look at the physical side of it. Yes, is that a part of it? Of course it is. But there is a huge emotional and energetic component to being able to medicine standpoint, there's this heavenly mandate that's fulfilled. Heaven and earth come together to create humanity. But the mother has to be open and receptive in that model in order for the soul to come in.
I think accounting for the soul is the biggest part, and that's one thing that's very unique. A lot of people can give Reiki. A lot of people can open your womb. Certainly, go get a regular Reiki session, and you will leave with your chakras probably open and aligned. But not everyone can channel and account for spirit babies and asking in spirit babies and asking and for them to come and be like, "Okay, yes, I'm gonna be coming." And usually I can get like a time frame as to it's not to the day, it's usually sometimes as specific as a two-week period. Sometimes it's not. I channeled the other day 2025. Sometimes it's not. I channeled the other day 2025. And this client, she had a stillborn baby in 20 gosh, like 5 years ago, and her spouse is in the military and deployed a lot and deployed a lot and done multiple IUIs, and they're just not taking. And I've been working with her, it might be a year and a half, maybe going on 2 years, and never in those 2 years until this last session did we talk that showed up and said, "Alright, I'm gonna come," but it was 2025. And I said, "You make the decision for yourself, but I'm telling you, your baby's not ready until," and it was like January, February 2025. I said, "I would highly recommend taking a break." And I think breaks in fertility are so important. Also, nobody talks about how hard fertility is really just, if not for a lack of better terms, like failing fertility treatments, what it does to your relationship. And what I totally recommended her to do is, "I would like you to go live a little bit." She was gonna go on a trip with her husband, he's deployed to another country. A trip with her husband, he's deployed to another country. I said, "Go and stay there as long as you can. Go eat food that is going to make go laugh with your husband. Go be young again. Go be free. Go be a married person with no babies." I don't know what you call that. So, like, a newlywed, been married several years. My manager once told me before I had kids, she goes, "Every night is date night for you because you don't have babies." I was now I get it. Now I have a kid. I'm like, "You have facts." But go enjoy this freedom that you have with your spouse. Go have these memories where you laugh till it hurts. Go do this. Go live for a year. Quit that you like, go take risks. What is gonna fill your cup? Because your cup's not even bone dry. Your cup is crumbling at this point.
Yeah.
And because she's "Nobody gets me, but you do." I was like, "Yeah, I need you to live a little bit because you're dying inside, and I don't think the next round is gonna end well. I don't think the next round is gonna end well if you're so depleted and you're so exhausted in every single way you can define exhaustion, and your husband's so far away. How can we get you back to being you again?" She took a break and now she's gonna go spend time. Actually, she stopped crying and it looked like she got a little bit more color in her skin, and it was like the most refreshed I had seen her. She goes, "I didn't know I could take a break." Oh, yes, ma'am, you can take a break. But I think also understanding that the first time her child had shown up, now, like, I almost have 2 years
Yeah.
of I got some time to fill before they're ready. She's like, "Alright then." Like, that power of knowledge from the mediumship session
Mm.
is going to allow her to fully step into this 2 years of creation that she can create a beautiful life. Years of creation that she can create a beautiful life. What does she need to prepare for? What else would she like to heal, or what would she like to develop for herself?
Yeah.
She's developing a bucket list. She hasn't been excited about anything. She hasn't had joy in such a long time because she's just been so focused on repeat IUIs, trying to get pregnant.
That are older and further along in their journey. So the ones that are late 30s coming up against 40 and they're starting to panic and feel like they have to be completely focused on this all right now because age is against them. And having this ability to, is there a baby even there? That's an incredible gift to be able to give people who keep pressing forward and trying month after month and tracking their stats month after month and going for repeated procedures and all of these kinds of things because they're like, my time is running out. And they don't even know if they're like, my time is running out. And they don't even know if they've created the environment that their baby feels safe enough to enter into.
It's possible that they come sooner, but usually I'm pretty right. One time, there's a local gal here, she's an amazing friend now, is that I predicted her baby amazing friend now, is that I predicted her baby we got a session in October, and I predicted her baby would come end of January, early February, and she got pregnant in December. But she's also a type A person, and this is when I was still practicing at the chiropractor's office. I remember this because it was her. I had my sessions have always been more than Reiki. It's like, how can I empower you to heal outside the session? How can I empower you to take action and implement them even after we're not together, or if I never see you again, how can I give you more so you can continue to move forward? And so it's always been healing and coaching in person. So I had given her to do, and it was a lot of internal work of she was unhappy in her job. She was really great at it and it was a good job, but it was okay. She was not lit up. She was not on fire. She also had a side hustle business. She had completely shifted. She implemented everything quickly. And because she actions, my husband, he's a slower processor. And then once he takes action, it gets done, but it's again at a slower pace. She says that's the reason why she conceived sooner was she did all the things that baby had communicated for us in that session. She implemented. Again, baby felt safe to enter.
I love that. That's so
So
beautiful.
you can shift things. She implemented. Again, baby felt safe to enter.
I love that. That's so
So
beautiful.
you can shift things. It doesn't have to be. And also, another thing to take away is if you work with another person or even work with me and something doesn't resonate, then it's not your truth. People should be giving evidential mediums is what you should be looking for because they're going to be validating evidence and maybe fragments in them. And most of the time, what I get is fragments like red hearted apron. Does this mean anything to you? Yes, that's my meanie. Or there's a tall man here. He has a mustache and he smells like tobacco. Does this remind you of anyone? Like there's like a lot of things that I can identify. And they're like, oh no, I was like, he feels very well mannered. He feels very like I describe people who come in, they're not always their babies, or sometimes they're carrying the babies. Or I say, okay, there's this grandma-ish looking person, but it feels not your mom's mom. It feels more like your dad's mom, but like a young person, but it feels not your mom's mom. It feels more like your dad's mom, but like I get goosebumps now. Like, so it feels like, but she's holding two babies, but these babies have not been born yet. I can tell has this, or I can tell sometimes the babies lately, what's happened is the babies who are wanting to be babies who have passed, they'll just say, I'm here, but I just let her know and then gives a symbol. Like usually the babies that have been passed, they're around the mom, especially. They still ride in the car and they'll say some things or they'll say blue feather. I send her blue feathers. She doesn't notice her blue feathers. And like those are the kind of things I'll can communicate. Or when you feel this is their symbol, this is their way of knowing and letting you know this is available for you to know that we're here, validation. So you should be expecting that from a reputable ethical medium so that you can get like pieces that what they're channeling is real. If not, then you might want to move on to one that actually uses that term. There's a lot of scammers out there.
Yes, this is all Yes, this is all incredible information. I could absolutely talk to you about
Chief
this for
forever.
hours. I totally would love to do a part 2 at some point as schedule permits for you, my dear, because I know that you are a busy lady, but how can people find you? Where are the best
I make it very simple. It's the Carolina Sotomayor on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to send me a DM, send me it to me on Instagram. If you want to check out my programs, the membership, the group program, or a one-on-one Reiki session, you can go to carolinasotomayor.com and please send me a DM. And I would love to answer any questions you have or screenshot this episode and tag me in it. And let's be besties for the resties.
I love it. I love it. All of the contact information will be in the show notes, and I'll include links for her program as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode today. I love you. I love the work that
Love
you
you
do.
too.
I'm so grateful that our paths crossed and we're both working in this fertility space. And until next.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist, herbalist, sound healer, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment with Adrienne for one-on-one support, or at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter to get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like us and follow Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn.